Here we go, JG Francoeur. Welcome to Facebook Live, YouTube Live. I'm going to try this again, buddy,
See if it
because
works.
I still don't have internet. I'm just kind of off my phone right now. I'm kind of tethering or whatever it is, some version of that, embracing
I'm
technology.
coming in super clear, so I think we're all systems go, baby.
All systems go. Hey, well, listen, I wanted to get on here. We've got our R4 conference coming up. I've been doing Facebook Lives and YouTube Lives. And, the thing that we hope to get the message out is that the power in this R4 conference is really having investors realize that as much as it feels compelling to sit on the sidelines and not continue forward, growing a portfolio, investing in real estate, there's so much negative conversations out there. And as I've said before, stay the hell off Twitter if you can't kind of work through all of that information that's coming out there, because it's very negative. But here's one fundamental thing, JG. This is where, we've said it before, lots of opportunities exist, because most of the challenges being faced are being faced by, number one, homeowners, and number two, speculators who thought they were investors, who got caught in FOMO, and now there's a fallout happening, and it's just getting ramped up. So as much as investors are just sitting back and waiting, the message that I would want to get across is it's not the time to sit back and wait. It's the time to not even sit back. It's the time to engage in the education and the economics of where the opportunities are going to exist, and then being strategic in how you move forward investing in real estate, because things have changed.
Patrick, I think right now anyone who's a strategic investor is doing one of two things. The best investors doing one of two things really, really well. Either number one, they're already starting to see the opportunities show up, and they're already starting to pounce on a couple different opportunities. Now I can talk about that and give actual examples if you'd like. And if an investor isn't seeing those opportunities yet, because real estate's regional, we're going to talk a lot about that at R4, and not all regions are, it's not all happening in the same regions at the same time. Different regions are doing different things. So if in your particular region you're not kind of getting those opportunities quite yet, don't worry, they will come. But secondly, Patrick, it's time to prepare. And I think this is so important, is to prosper in real estate, you have to be prepared. And this is the moment to be preparing. And actually, quite frankly, I would say this is my own personal philosophy here, is you're actually at the tail end of your opportunity to prepare. If you don't prepare soon, if you don't come to the R4 conference and you don't get prepared for what's to come, you will have missed another great opportunity in real estate. And that's important, Patrick, because the last time I said this, it was the beginning of COVID, and I told people we'd go on the best run they've ever seen in real estate. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. And people weren't prepared then. And the question is, are they prepared now?
Yeah, and just for clarity, we're not talking about prepping. We're talking about being prepared. Not that we're making prepping wrong, but right now we're not talking about prepping. We're talking about preparing for investing in real estate. That was my kind of weak shot at humor, I guess. Anyways, one of the things that's happening, JG, at R4 is we literally have the economic development offices and representations of the economic development officer for several cities. We also have the mayors coming out, and I think from Grand Prairie, from Airdrie, Burnaby, I've lost track. Anyways, it's all, if you click on the link. What's that?
I'll pull up the agenda, Patrick, because it is absolutely
epic. Yes,
it's incredible. Let me give you so we got Fort McMurray on the list. We have Prince George on the list, Abbotsford on the list, Lethbridge on the list, Airdrie on the list, Grand Prairie on the list, Barrie, Ontario on the list, Winnipeg on the list. Yeah. And the list goes on. Total, Patrick, 22 different speakers at this event.
It's going to be amazing in terms of what you can get from this. Now, aside from kind of promoting the event, which we want everybody to attend, understand where we come from when we're talking about opportunities and what it looks like. First and foremost, we often say there's no bad time to invest in real estate. There's just the incorrect strategies given what's happening economically. Right now, we're going to be talking about rent to own. Barry McGuire, 47 years as a lawyer, thousands of real estate deals, is going to be presenting on rent to own, agreements for sale, wholesaling. And then you're going to be talking about negotiating deals, how to negotiate deals. I'll be presenting on the impact of transportation changes and what's happening there. And there's a fundamental that I've really come to understand with what's going on right now economically. And that is we have so many pundits, if you will. I guess maybe that's what we hold ourselves at. Not really, but we look at things. We see so many people trying to make sense of what's going on economically. And I get it. You know, interest rates have risen at the highest rate ever. We don't know where they're going to end. Tiff Macklem literally came out today going, man, if we don't get wages under control and if we don't get employment, it's like it's too hot. If we don't, like he's making this already, you know, saber rattling is that rates may go up, not in March, but soon they might have to do that, you know, which is fundamentally messes people up. Like they can't understand and relate to what's happening and they're trying to make sense of it. But here's what I've come to, the conclusion I've come to. We keep trying to compare to historical things, you know, the recession of, you know, in the late 90s. And then of course, 2007, 2008, great financial crisis, and then a downturn in 2014 in parts of the country. And now they're saying, okay, this is that. And they're trying to compare to all those other times. And my argument here right now is that we can't try and make sense of today based on what happened before. We've never been in a position where interest rates have risen this fast and this high. It's been low rates for many, many years. It's been 2% inflation, blah, blah, blah. Now we have historic high inflation. We've got interest rates that went up. We've got immigration that we've never seen before. So we've got a level of demand for housing that we've never seen before, number one. Number two, is not going away anytime soon, according to our federal government. So to the degree we trust our federal government, we have to believe what they say, that they're going to continue to do that. Yeah, exactly. And so then on top of that, we have limited supply. Supply problems are not going to go away anytime soon. They can't build enough fast enough. And as a matter of fact, with all of the recent changes that's happened, we've got builders sitting on the sidelines going, I can't take on this project. And so everybody thinks, okay, well, let's rush over to multifamily. Okay, well, how long do you think that's going to last when you've got that kind of demand on multifamily, trying to find those deals? It's all to say this, JG, we have to step back, look at the strategies we need to learn and to implement. And I'm going to shine a light on RTO. I'm going to shine a light on agreements for sale. And I'm going to shine a light on wholesaling, which are three things that right now you're going to have home owners and you're going to have speculators that have got into trouble that are going to need problems solved. Agreements for sale are a version of vendor financing that give you the opportunity to get in the game with very little or sometimes no money down. But the point is that you're in there solving problems, a very, very proven strategy that works perfectly in a time like now. Rent to own for those buyers who can't qualify, don't have down payments, but have great jobs. They're looking to find deals. And if you can be that middle person on a rent to own deal, you've got it. And guess what? You've got investors all over the country looking for deals. You can be that wholesaler. You can absolutely generate income by being that kind of bird dog, if you will, or getting those wholesale deals put together for investors. So I know that's a bit of a rant, long-winded, JG. Anything you want to add to that?
I have lots I want to add to that. First of all, I want to first address the you putting us in the pundit category. Let's never do that again.
Never, ever.
You know, pundits don't spend 8 hours a day in the field like you and I do, Patrick, and they like to administer from their office. And as you can see, I'm dressed. I just came out of the field, so definitely not a pundit. That's the first and
Good point. Good point.
Secondly, I would say, Patrick, I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it with RTO, agreements for sale, VTBs, and wholesaling. You didn't mention VTBs, but essentially VTBs are a phenomenal opportunity. They're super hot right now. You couldn't do a VTB deal to save your life 12 months ago, 18 months ago, but now things have totally shifted. And these are those, I mean, this really comes back to a fundamental belief that investors must have, and that is when there's chaos in the marketplace, there's incredible opportunities in the marketplace. Yeah. And if you don't believe that at your core, come to the ARC4 conference and come and find out why that is 100% true, Patrick. I mean, it's in moments like this particular market where it's chaotic and it's loud and there's headlines and everybody's yelling and it seems like there's so much carnage. It's in these moments where People need solutions. People need leaders. And those leaders, by the way, are found at the R4 conference. So, that's why I was talking about the preparation, because, and then you had your cheap joke about prepping. So there's sidestep that one this time. But the preparation is key right here, because an investor may very well be watching this and saying, listen, guys, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. What's an agreement for sale? What's a VTB? What's an RTO? That's the point. If you don't know these tactics and these strategies, you got to learn this stuff, and you got to learn this now. It's not time to learn this when we go back into the recovery and boom cycle. It's in the cycles like this where you're in a bit more of a down cycle. This is the time when you have to be learning and implementing this stuff so you can ride the next wave on the way up. And it just seems, Patrick, like it's a counterintuitive thing. But when you're an old dog like you and you've been around the block a couple times, you'll learn this over. I didn't just call you old. I'm just saying you're very experienced. You're very seasoned is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you learn these things, right?
Yes. I think there's something that, we have to acknowledge. Okay. We get that it's a scary time. We get that it's hard to even make sense of all of it. I get it 100%. But one thing that we do know, JG, and it's written all over the place by many who have accomplished a lot and have created a lot of wealth, that it's through these times that the resilience, the willingness to kind of be uncomfortable, to go through that learning curve, to go through the eye of the needle, because right now, man, oh man, geopolitical, we got UFOs and balloons and Russia and Ukraine and China and Taiwan and Europe and UK. Oh my gosh, the headlines are blaring, and we have to be brave and taking step by step. It doesn't mean blowing up your world. It is incrementally moving forward in spite of the conditions, and showing up to learn and acknowledge what's happening economically so that you can actually continue to build and create that future wealth.
Patrick, let's talk about this. When we started this, you talked about, hey, maybe we'll make this a little impromptu, rein it in. Well, let's freaking do that, okay? let's talk about these UFOs and balloons, and I can't wait to see what other bullshit I hear about tomorrow. The point is that there's some real stuff going on, but it's non-stop distractions. It's non-stop. The next headline is going to be even more astronomical, and it's just going to be more distracting for people. And I think as an investor, you have got to learn to put blinders onto these things. And I'm very good at it. I probably do it to a fault. In your eyes, I would do it to a fault, Patrick, where I put the blinders on too much. But that's okay. That's my perspective. The point is that to be successful in this world of real estate investing, you have got to be able to focus. And I think that not be distracted by all of this stuff. And I love this recent UFO sightings. Now this is becoming the mainstream headlines. It's just crazy.
Well, I think you said it, right? These are mainstream headlines. And, from my perspective, and you probably put on blinders far better than I do, but I also look at it a little bit more pragmatically, where I'm not buying into the narrative. As a matter of fact, when I see what's on mainstream media, that's this many years later when think about how many times we've said, look behind the headlines, look behind the curtain. Exactly. So anytime I see mainstream media, I'm going, okay, we need to dig into why is there a distraction? What's really happening, and where should we be paying attention to? And let's even talk about the whole narrative around 15-minute cities. There's two fundamentally different perspectives around 15-minute cities. Some don't care, some not even paying attention. Edmonton's being one of those test cities, for example. Lots of controversy around it. Let's face it. Some are going, no, it's going to be awesome. We get to walk everywhere. We're going to save the environment, hug a tree. And then there's, of course, another cohort around all of that is saying, no, they're going to lock us down again, and we're going to have to pay carbon credits and be taxed to go outside of that 15-minute city. Well, listen, you're going to choose a place to believe, but let's put it this way. Do the research. And that's a lot of the research that I'm spending right now on the impact of 15-minute cities, because if this is actually growing to be a thing, then I want to know what it is, because within all of that will live opportunities. So I want to look for those opportunities, not form an opinion and shut down around it. Okay, what are people not paying attention to? There's the fundamental difference between a sophisticated investor and a speculator / gambler. as a sophisticated investor, I want to uncover what the truth is. I come to my own conclusion of the truth. It's not going to be based on, number one, what our mainstream media is telling us or even our government is telling us. I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to find out what really is making that tick. And then I'll make a decision. I'll create a thesis, and then I'll put a plan together and execute against that plan. And that's really what the difference between being that reactive, emotionally driven speculator / gambler investor and being sophisticated in our thought process. Get rid of the emotion, as hard as that is, and then make really strategic decisions. And what we know is that based on our experience of going through these things before, we know the time now is to look at agreements for sale, look at RTOs, look at wholesaling as an example. And that doesn't, we're not painting everything with the same brush, by the way, but these are absolutely strategies that work in this environment. And that's what we want to point out. And that's what we're talking about.
The other thing too, Patrick, is to consider the different regions. And that's why at the R4 conference, we're really focusing on a host of different regions, because maybe your region's not doing good. Well, listen, you have a choice as an investor. You don't have to keep investing in that particular region. You could move. You don't have to physically move. You don't have to physically move, by the way, but you could move your investments. You might decide to diversify. You might decide to cash a little bit, cash some chips in, and then move. There's a variety of tactics you could do. The point is that maybe you should look at a different region. And I think back, Patrick, to like 2018, I believe it was. And what you said really struck a chord, how a lot of people always revert to the past and they try to justify the future by looking at the past. Very difficult to do that. But one of the things that's interesting, in 2018, when the market was taking a pretty big beating in Toronto, that's when they introduced the stress test. That's when the GTA took like I think it was a 10 or 15% nosedive in a relatively short period of time. You know what I did is and I wasn't investing in the GTA, but I decided to look at other cities that didn't have quite that effect. I started investing in one of Reign's top towns called Hamilton. I decided to, diversify my regions, and it turned out incredibly well. The point is look at different regions. Now's a great time for that.
Well, it is. And, something when we look at what's happening today, and as investors, what do we want to make sure? Rental housing providers, we want to make sure that we have clients. We want to make sure that there are tenants out there. And right now, there's never been a more kind of prominent time for that kind of investment strategy where you're being a rental housing provider for clients that they don't even know. The demand is so high, and this is the opportunity. And something I also want to point out here is that, we keep seeing these headlines. It's making me crazy. Prices are down 25%. So here's what we're doing. Record low percentage drops, not price drops, by the way, percentage drops. So we're taking record high lows, and guess what we're putting them up against? Guess what we're weighing them against? Record highs, record growth. So, a year does not make a real estate investment. And so we go through a high, we go through a low. I get it's painful for somebody who bought in March of 2022 and didn't buy with a great strategy in mind. But listen, if we're going to weigh our real estate against what happened 6 months ago or even a year ago, record highs, then it almost makes sense that there's going to be record lows, because that's what you're measuring it against. So I want to say that all of this has some substance, but we can't buy into it for full, we can't give 100% of attention to it, because there's a balance to it all. And we have to look at what the reality of these price drops or these percentage drops / price drops are. Listings are down, sales are down. Got it. But what are we measuring it against, number one? And we, again, are looking at economic conditions we've never had before.
And not to mention, Patrick, all of those headlines apply to homeowners. Very few of them apply to investors. Very, very
100%,
few.
100%. Okay, we've ranted enough. Get registered for R4. Join us. It's cheap. It's like really super hot smoking deal to join us. We're going to have a great event. And you're going to learn a ton. So join us. And JG, thanks, man. 1.5
days, Friday evening, Saturday all day. Incredible value. Check it out. Click the link, get the info, and get signed up. And we'll see you there.
See you there, buddy.